Hi all, welcome back to another session on web methods. So in this video, I would like to walk through some of the admin activities we can perform after the installation of server. So increasing the memory size of RAM, because when the software AG server is installed, like the integration server and those things are installed, those come with the default configuration. So let's like 1 GB of RAM, and that will be allocated. And if you wanted to increase the memory, what's settings we need to change. And also we'll see some of the other parameters that can be tuned in at web method side. So let's start. So whenever we install the integration server, we will be configuring the ports details and all these things. Let's say while installing, we'll say that okay, I want this port to be on 5555 and all those things. But in reality, where that details get stored once the installation is complete. Let's say if you wanted to change the port or do some changes to how the HTTPS things need to be done. Those things, let's see. So by default, if you see here, yeah, I started my port, the server on 5555, and the port details will be there inside this. Like if you go to your installation, integration server, instances, your instance name, packages, and if you go to WM root, it will be there inside the config listeners.cnf. So in the listeners.cnf, the details regarding the port details are stored. So it shows you the default port and the HTTPS port details, and where what are the other properties present in it and all those things. So if you wanted to change the port details and all, you can change this. Let's say if you wanted to move it to a double six double six or double nine, not double nine double nine, because double nine is used by diagnostic. So other than double five, you can go and change in this thing. Yeah. So if you change here, and you need to restart the server, and the server will start on that port actually. So that is for ports. And as I said, my server memory, like say if you see the memory, it is coming with 1 GB of RAM is being used here. But in reality, I have 8 GB of RAM. So if I wanted to allocate the more memory to this instead of 1 GB, what you need to do is you need to go to the software AG profiles, this thing, and it is in. I think I've written the notes here also. Where are they? Yeah, default configuration and custom wrapper.conf. So if you scroll down here, you can set your uh, memory details and all. Initially, it is 256 max memory that can be allocated as this thing is what it is written. But in reality, you have more RAM here. So you can just update the RAM details here as 2048 or something, or make sure not to allocate the total RAM. So if you have 4 GB of RAM, then make sure to allocate a minimum of 2 or 2.5 GB here. So that settings can be done in this section in custom wrapper.conf. And you need to restart the server once you make the changes, because these load along with the server details. That is one thing. And the other one is if you wanted to start your integration server only on the HTTPS port and not the HTTP, you can go here, and this is these are the details which are already defaultly present. You can see you have enabled is equal to true, and this is the HTTP port. which says that the it is default HTTP and enable is true. So if you wanted to stop this thing from loading on HTTP port, just make the flag to false, and here have it to true. And remember this. This can be done in only test environments or your development environments. In your production, you need to use your own key stores, trust stores configuration in this, so that because by default it ships with a self-signed certificate, and you need to create your own certificates. You can watch my previous videos how we create the certificates and all. So that needs to be signed by the CA, and that details you can specify here. And then you can somehow control that. Okay, I don't want my integration server to be running on HTTP, so run it on only HTTPS. One way is that. Another way is you can go to your port configurations, and here also you can select the allow access modes, like say you are allowing by default, and you can deny the request and only add what all services that can be accessed on this port. So that is one way to do it. So that's a default primary port. It shows that it can't be disabled directly, so that's a default one. So if you wanted to stop this, just go to the details which I specified and change it, or else you can even do change primary port here and just do these details, like say create one new port, and then you can change the primary ports here also. There are different ways of doing it. And one other thing I wanted to show is, so by default what happens is, like if you are dealing with large SOAP XML files, when I say large, it's like 40 or 50 MB files that are coming in. At times what happens is integration server will chunk the data, and it will not send the whole data to the client, and it will stop processing at our end. So in order to avoid that, so what you need to do is go to software AG, yeah, and common conf, go to this access.xml, access.xml, and make sure to disable, like make the value to false here for enable SOAP validation. So by default, it gives the enable SOAP validation as true. You need to make it false to avoid the performance bottleneck in this and allow the large files. You can write your own logic. For that, you can check the large XML file handling and all those things. But by default, like as a performance measure or something, or they don't want it to load allow large XML web services or that thing. So software AG gives it as enabled so validation false. Sorry, true. So it's better like we change it to false, so that we can handle it in our code to process the large files, instead of we are doing the allowing the integration server, where it will definitely chunk the data, and it will fail processing in the other environments or other when I say environments, it's the target servers. And one more thing which I wanted to say is, so if you wanted to increase the memory of designer, so by default, a designer will be on 256 MB of RAM. Let's say if you are processing huge records of data from the database or some huge file for testing or something, what happens is the designer crashes or crashes every time. So in order to avoid that, what you need to do is go to your designer, Eclipse, and this is eclipse.ini file. So you need to change your memory settings to it used to be like 256 MB, and the max is this thing. So I changed it to 1024 MB, and 2048 would be the default one. So this is how you can increase the designer memory size, so that it doesn't crash when it is dealing with large amounts of, when you're dealing with large amounts of data in your testing and all. So one is that what all I wanted to show. I've shown you the custom wrap, this thing, access, listeners, eclipse.ini, and MWS details. Let's say if you have installed MWS in your system and you wanted to see, let's say at times what happens is MWS will have some issues with the logging of data. I mean, when you're trying to log in, it might throw you some error saying that you're not a valid user or the DB credentials are incorrect. So in that cases, what you need to do is go to your installation directory, yeah, MWS server, this thing, this, big and MWS.db. Here you have the details of MWS.db stored. So you can check what are the details given. By default, the password will be encrypted. So if you wanted to be, let's say, change the password or reset the password again or enter the password here, just keep it in plain text format and make sure that the MWS is down before doing it. And once the MWS is loaded again, the password gets changed into the new password will be changed into this encrypted format during the startup. And you can even test your MWS is working or not by running this query in your Oracle client like SQL developer or something. So this is how you can do it. And all these settings for integration server will be present inside. It will be there in custom dot config custom. You can say custom. Sorry, not this universal messaging. Configuration. Yeah, in the custom wrapper config, you'll have all the details also. If you want any additional changes need to be done, you can change these details here or in wrapper config details are all present in this. You can toy around in your own integration server local system to see what this significance and what are the significance of these details. And you can also go around and check the license key details will be specified here. Yeah, it expires in 30. Let's say if I my server I mean my details are expired in April, I'll uninstall this and again reinstall the new server, or just take the license key and then update here. So that should still work. Yeah, you can check all the configurations also here. Your global variable details will be present in this. Yeah, and your ACL settings and all those configuration details will be present inside this config file. And if there are any security details and all, it will be there in this. Let's say if you're using any policies, that policy details will be there, custom policies and all those things. Okay, even this can be changed there. So these are the various types of admin activities you can perform in web methods. Thank you.